be held there, and the crown of Scotland will be placed on the Queen's coffin. After the service, members of the family will stage a vigil, and then her people, will be given the chance to enter the cathedral and file past her coffin and pay their final respects. And at some point late Tuesday evening, the Queen's body will be taken from Edinburgh to London as the sovereign leaves Scotland, a country she so dearly loves, one last time.
Is being moved now to Holyrood House. That is the palace, the residence rather, of the monarch, the official residence in the Scottish capital. She will lie at Holyrood in the throne room. Just pausing there for a moment so you could hear some of the applause. That is the way people are paying tribute to the Queen as her coffin makes its way through the streets of Edinburgh. This is happening during, of course, the 10 days of national mourning, but it's also happening at the same time as the other part of the story is unfolding, and that, of course, is the King Charles III, taking up the mantle of his new job. And he is right now at Buckingham, as we heard from Adrian earlier, meeting with the Secretary General of the Commonwealth and High Commissioners from those countries. And now the hearse has arrived at Holyrood House. Again, the official residence of the British monarch in the Scottish capital. And it will stay there in the throne room for today, moving tomorrow to the cathedral, St. Giles Cathedral, where members of the public will be able to view the coffin. It will remain under vigil for 24 hours. We are expecting, if just based on what we've seen here, from the number of people lining the streets, that there will be an awfully long line to pay tribute to the Queen as she lies in state there in Edinburgh. King Charles is expected to make his way as well to Holyrood tomorrow to have an audience with Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. And then they will head over to Scottish Parliament, where they will have they will receive, rather, what's being called a motion of condolence. And the King and the royal family is expected at St. Giles Cathedral tomorrow evening, along, of course, where the Queen is already lying in state. Adrian Arsenault had been telling us earlier that one of the things that will happen each time the Queen's casket makes its way to a different residence is that the members of the household, the people who were close to her, that looked after her and her affairs, will first get a chance to say goodbye and pay tribute to the Queen before she is moved into a more public setting where the public can do so. So that will happen here at Holyrood. It will happen as well once she arrives back in London.
It's been really incredible since this started about 6 hours ago. Just, you know, the crowds and the flowers and the silence. Everyone has just been very stoic and very sort of proper and diplomatic, and a lot of people were dressed in black as well. You know, it's been really quite something to watch history right in front of us.
And there's the casket making its way into Holyrood. And, you know, I know people that they've been speaking through the day, and even the guests that Abby just had, it sort of makes it real in a way to see the casket and to see this part of the event unfold.
Certainly when they pulled out of Balmoral this morning and we saw the casket, it made it very real at that point.
Yeah, it's very moving. And I mentioned too, as Adrian had said earlier, that the members of the staff, the household members, the people that she, you know, relied on so much, those are the people that get to say goodbye to her first there at Bonnie.
It's so nice the way they do this type of thing, but the royal households are extremely important to every member of the royal household, and some of them last for their entire careers, 40, 50 years, and they're generational. So often somebody that works in her household now, their father and possibly grandfather worked there. So they're sort of passed on roles as well, or they used to be. So their household, and there is formality in the relationships, but they're also very close and personal. And it's so fitting that they get to see her first.
I mean, in many ways, sort of an extended family. Absolutely, yeah, given that they are the most trusted people around here.
Well, they see you every day. They know everything about your life. They carry out all your events and functions with you. They advise you. They're the gatekeepers. They deal with diplomats and other world leaders on your behalf. They represent you in many ways. And some of them might just be the cook in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
But that's a very personal role as well, because they see you in your most, intimate periods of your life, when you're walking around in your, bathrobe at night.
That's
and
right.
They see you.
Yeah.
So.
They know how you like your tea and what cookie you want to eat as well. Yeah.
They look after the corgis.
That's right.
It's all very much a part of the life behind those castle walls.
Yeah. And this is really our first glimpse too at the amount of ceremony that the next week until the funeral next Monday the 19th will entail. I mean, it is the detail and thought process that's been put into this is also remarkable.
Yes, and Her Majesty would have had a lot to do with this ceremony and what's happening today to get her back to London, because she, as you know, died at Balmoral. It's quite spectacular, and she's certainly letting Scotland show its finest in every way, with the people, the countryside, the beauty of it all, and how much she actually loved it, loved being there, loved being at Balmoral. Could walk freely through the streets, go to the shops. She was considered a local, and she could chit-chat with people, and she knew people by their first name. So this is quite a lovely way for them to thank her for her years of public service, and even though Scotland, you know, there are lots of political issues going on, today is a time to pay respect to her, and they're certainly doing that.
Yeah, it's another example of what seems to be emerging of the story of the Queen is that lots of love and affection for her.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you might have a complicated relationship with the monarchy and what it represented, and maybe not even interested in keeping it anymore, there's still a focus on the Queen as the individual.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the work that King Charles is into already today.
Yeah.
So, you know, it speaks to the geopolitics of the monarchy.
So if viewers are just tuning in, the Queen's casket has, after a very lengthy drive from Balmoral, has arrived in New Edinburgh. This, in case you didn't know, I certainly didn't know before today, is Holyrood House, and that is the official residence of the monarch in the Scottish capital. It is where the Queen will stay now for the next less than 24 hours until tomorrow, at which point she'll be transported to Cathedral, St. Giles Cathedral, where members of the public will be able to come and pay their respects, and eventually the King Charles III, and presumably members of the royal family will also convene at that cathedral for a vigil. King Charles, as Bonnie mentioned, they're having to begin the work of being the king, being the monarch, and at the same time take part in the grieving process of losing his own mother, which probably is not an easy thing to do, I would imagine, Bonnie, even if he's been preparing for it his whole life. That's a difficult thing to do, both of those things at once.
Well, Balmoral, we came out and looked at the flowers when it was Edward and Andrew and Princess Anne, and you know, the Princess Royale has traveled in this funeral cortege with her mother and will remain here tonight in Edinburgh, and will fly with her to London tomorrow.
Yeah, that's an important role that she's taking on as well.
Mm-hmm. A mother-daughter.
Yeah.
And also the close relationship between King Charles and his sister, the Princess Royale.